kutumaini sina ila damu yake Bwana, sina wema wa kutosha dhambi zangu kuziosha. Nakutumaini sina ila damu yake Bwana, sina wema wa kutosha dhambi zangu kuziosha. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Njia yangu iwe ndefu, yeye unipa wokovu. Mawimbi yakinipiga, nguvu zake ndiyo nanga. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba si salama, iye mwamba si salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Damu yake na sadaka nategemea daima, yote chini ya kisha Mwokozi akanitosha. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Nikiitwa hukumuni, rohoni ni ya amani, nikivikwa haki yake, sina hofu mbele zake. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama. Kwake Yesu nasimama, iye mwamba si salama, iye mwamba ni salama, iye mwamba ni salama.
Is another privilege. God has allowed me to come and reason with you tonight. God has given me a topic that I'm going to reason with you. I titled it, exhibit that splendid smile. Today God has a message for His people, those people who work for Him. God is telling us, those people who work for Him, they should exhibit that splendid smile. What does God exactly mean by saying exhibit that splendid smile? No matter what kind of circumstance we go through daily, God still tells us, exhibit that splendid smile. As we live on earth, there are so many trials and tribulations that we will encounter daily, but God still tells us, exhibit that splendid smile. If you have made a decision to work for God, you should as well get ready to encounter all kinds of trials and tribulation on earth. Many people will hate you just by seeing you. They know that you work for God. But God still tells us, exhibit that splendid smile. Think of Job. God allowed the devil to do everything to Job. And guess what? Job managed. Job took it and he waited upon the Lord. And at the end, Job became victorious. Think of Daniel. Daniel loved God and he decided to work for God. And many people hated Daniel. He trusted in God. Think of Stephen. Stephen is another icon in the Bible who went through a lot. And guess what? Stephen was stoned by many people to death. He did not give up on God. No matter how many trials and tribulation we go through, God is still telling us, exhibit that splendid smile. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 4 to 7. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I'll say rejoice. Let your gentleness be known to all men. The Lord is at hand. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplications with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. So God is telling us through the book of Philippians, rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. If you are working for God, you are in the Lord, you should always rejoice in the Lord. Let your gentleness be known to all men. Why does God tell us, let your gentleness be known to all men? He's telling us that because as we work for God, we're gonna go through many trials and tribulations. But people, all men should see your gentleness through God. You should have that peace from God and stay calm and wait upon the Lord. The Lord is coming very soon. So we need to keep that trust and hope and look forward on Jesus Himself. People should see your gentleness through you as you live daily through trials and tribulations. Yes, people should see your gentleness. People should see that peace in you. Yes, that's why God tells us, exhibit that splendid smile. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer and supplications, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. That's a promise to all those who work for God. That's a promise to all those who trust in God. So when we trust in God, nothing will make us afraid. Proverbs 3 verse 5 to 6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight. we should trust in the Lord with all our heart, because as we live on earth, the devil is going to tempt us to hold part of us in God and part of us on ourselves. So we will have doubts. We need to give all our heart and trust in God and wait upon Him. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to men. But God is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will also make the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it. So when God allows us to go through temptations, He knows that those temptations cannot overtake us. All temptation that God allows to come our way, He knows exactly that they are very common to us. We can bear it. Yes, and God tells us He is faithful. He will not allow us to be tempted beyond what we are able to handle. He will also make the way of escape, that we may be able to bear it. We need to understand that God has allowed that temptation to come our way so that we can become stronger. You should look forward for a blessing from God. There's a blessing from God coming later. So we need to sit back and wait upon the Lord and see what He's gonna do for us. God is telling us through James that consider it pure joy, brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. Why does God tell us we should consider it to be joy while we face many kinds of trials? Whenever we face trials, we become more stronger. Those trials, they're gonna make us stronger in the Lord. If you really or genuinely love God and work for Him, you must go through trials and temptations. Consider it pure joy. Yes. Romans chapter 8 and verse 28. And we know that all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who have been called according to His purpose. Paul is telling us through Romans that everything that works on us, no matter how bad, everything works out for good to all those who love God, those who have been called to serve the Lord. Everything will work out for good, yes, because we love God. Psalm 23. This is the song that David wrote as he remembers what he went through. King David went through a lot. There was a time he fell into sin. He had no peace because he knew exactly that he has been cursed. So he started crying a lot, asking God to forgive him. And then God forgave David, and he had lots of peace. So today he is telling us this song, Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for His name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me. In the presence of my enemies, you anointed my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Wow! He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. Yes, He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Today I'm sharing with David, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. When you are with God, you should fear nothing. Yes, because God's rod and God's staff, they comfort us. Yes, you should fear nothing at all. Has God ever prepared a table before you in the presence of your enemy? Guess what? God has done it to me today. I can declare right away, God has prepared the table right in front of many of my enemies. If I could tell you, you will be surprised. I'm telling you today, God prepared a table right in front of my enemies. And guess what? He has taken all my loads from me and he took it away. And today I have lots of freedom and happiness. Yes, I can tell you, my friend, right away, my life has changed completely today. That's how I can shout, and I can tell you right away, the Lord prepared the table right in front of my enemies. Yes, and he anointed my head with oil. And guess what? My cup today runs over. Yes, and people can tell because I exhibit that splendid smile right here. No matter what comes my way, I'm not afraid. And there has been so many times the devil tried to come and punch me this side and that side. And guess what? I just looked at him and smiled because I knew he was looking for trouble. Yes, and today he can hear me telling him straight away, the Lord has prepared the table right in front of him, and he can do nothing. He can do nothing at all because he has anointed my head with oil, and my cup is running over. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Yes, I will keep serving the Lord forever. No matter what kind of circumstance comes my way, I'm gonna dwell in the house. Philippians chapter 4 and verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Yes, when you trust in the Lord, you can do all things. No matter what comes and looks as if you can do nothing, God tells us you can do all things through Christ who strengthens you. He is the one who is giving us strength. Yes. The very last book for today is taken from the book of Philippians chapter 4 and verse 7. And the peace of God, which surpasses all our understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Yes, God is telling every person who loves him, God is telling every person who works for God, that the peace of God himself, which surpasses all our understanding, will guard our hearts and mind through his Son Jesus Christ. If we trust in the Lord, his peace is gonna be with us. His peace surpasses all understanding. There's nothing that is above God's peace. Thank you so much for reasoning with us tonight. Thank you so much for reasoning with us tonight.
Christ is my reward and all of my devotion. Now there's nothing in this world that could ever satisfy. Through every trial, my soul will sing, no turning back. I've been set free. Christ is enough for me. Christ is enough for me. Everything I need is in you. Everything I need. Christ, my all in all, the joy of my salvation. And this hope will never fail. Heaven is our home. Through every storm, my soul will sing, Jesus is here. To God be the glory. Christ is enough for me. Christ is enough for me. Everything I need is in you. Everything I need. Christ is enough for me. Christ is enough for me. Everything I need is in you. Everything I need. I've decided to follow Jesus, no turning back, no turning back. I have decided to follow Jesus, no turning back, no turning back. The cross before me, the world behind me, no turning back, no turning back. The cross before me, the world behind me, no turning back, no turning back. Christ is enough for me. Christ is enough for me. Everything I need is in you. Everything I need. Christ is enough for me. Christ is enough for me. Everything I need is in you. Everything I need. I have decided to follow Jesus, no turning back, no turning back. I have decided to follow Jesus, no turning back, no turning back. The cross before me, the cross before me, the world behind me. No turning back, no turning